I'm going to talk about magic Negroes. The concept of the magic Negro. And the reason I'm going to talk about that is because I've been getting a lot of emails from some of the listeners. And some of the listeners are upset with stuff that goes on television and certain things that go on the internet. A lot of my listeners email me upset like, Flex, man, there's a lot of people stealing your stuff. There's a lot of King Flex imitators on YouTube. What do you think about that? People always ask me that. What do you think about that? What about all these shows coming out doing the stuff that you do? What do you think about that, man? I think it's bullshit. That's what people say to me. A lot of people point out a gentleman by the name of Mystery. He has a show, or had a show on VH1, The Pickup Artist. I always get asked, what do you think about the pickup artists? What do you think about these guys? There's another show coming out on VH1 called Tough Love. And a lot of you have emailed me about this show. It's about this dude giving real, true to the game, dating and relationship advice to a bunch of women. Now, a lot of people are kind of upset about it, and they ask me how I feel about it, because that's the exact same concept I did for the pilot of my VH1 show. The exact same thing. I did a pilot called The Gold Digger Show. Same exact thing. And a lot of people are upset, and they want to know what my take is on it. And I don't really get too upset about it. I just kind of charge it to the game to a certain degree, because I know how Hollywood is. I know how Hollywood thinks and how Hollywood markets certain shows. And I know who they're marketing to. So I have to just understand it in that respect. Like what I do, being a game advisor, what I do is kind of unique. It's kind of an original thing. When I first started doing this, when I started writing the books 10 years ago, nobody was really doing what I was doing. Immediately after The Art of Mackin came out, and thank God, I'm very blessed to have that book as it's like a cult classic. The streets and word of mouth kept that book real hot. But when I did that, The Art of Mackin, nobody was doing it. Then afterwards, people started popping up doing imitation books like that. There were books that were like blatant ripoffs, which I'm not hating, but I mean, it was one book called Mac Tactics, The Art of Getting Women, some shit, but they used the word art and Mac for the book title. Clearly a play on my books. And then all these other books sprang up, which is cool. You know, imitation is the best form of flattery. But then all these shows start coming up on television, and a lot of people are like, damn, Flex, your show needs to be on TV, man. You need to have your own show, man. You need to have your own shit. I'm tired of all these people taking your stuff. And white and black people are saying this. White and black people are saying this. Now, the reason why you see certain things on television, and I'm still, I still talk with different execs, but I have to understand the hustle, and I'm going to get you to understand the hustle and how the game is in order to conform to get on television. See, I want to be groundbreaking, but you got to dance around it. You got to play chess to a certain degree. And in order to play chess, you have to know the chessboard, and you have to know all the players that's on the chessboard. You have to know who's the pawn, who's the king, who's the rook. You have to know all that. You have to be aware of what's on the chessboard. See, a lot of you guys are not aware of what's on the chessboard, and it makes you upset. You're like, man, fuck this. Just these people, they need to stop playing and just give you your own shit instead of getting all these goofy knockoffs. That's what people are saying to me. You have to understand when it comes to black people on television, and there's a reason why you don't see too many black folks in general on television unless it fits into a certain, not just stereotype, but a certain box. I can say stereotype because that's really what it is. In Hollywood on television, there's 6 main stereotypes for black men, and there's 2 for black women. Now, out of these 6 stereotypes, these 6 boxes that they put black people into, you see it in television and you see it in movies. And damn near everybody on television, every black person on television kind of falls into one of these categories. And this has been going on since the beginning of movie making. With black men on television or in movies, you're going to see 6 types, 6 stereotypes. You're going to see the Uncle Tom, number 1. Number 2, you're going to see the brute. Number 3, you're going to see the coon. Number 4, you're going to see the buck. Number 5 is going to be the pimp. And number 6 is the magic Negro. I want you to think about those 6 for right now. And this has been going on since the beginning of television. That keeping black folks in those 6 boxes, it's kind of comforting. Anything outside of that box, it gets a little uncomfortable. Now, black women, on the other hand, there are 2 basic stereotypes for black women on television and in movies. The mammy and the Jezebel. Meaning the non-threatening, non-sexual maternal figure or the over-sexualized slut. Those are the 2 images you always see of black women on television and movies. You either see the Oprah, the Whoopi Goldberg, the Hattie McDaniel, the all-loving Nell Carter, give me a break, mammy. Or you see black women as sluts, hoes, skanks, booty shakers. And really nothing in between. Very rarely is there something in between. It's always overly sexual or non-sexual, non-threatening, maternal. But the black male stereotypes are a little more complex. Not that complex, but once you understand it, you'll understand why you only see certain things on television. That's initiated by white producers being catered to middle America. And again, I can understand why Hollywood does this, because they have to cater to whites in middle America. White people on the outskirts of the country, a lot of them are kind of hip and they know the game, and they're a little more open-minded. They're a little more liberal to a certain degree. A lot of them have that Midwest, middle America stereotype bullshit too. But they really cater to the whites in middle America, white people who have never seen a black person in real life ever. You have to make them very comfortable with their stereotypes. Now, with number 1, with the Uncle Tom character, the Uncle Tom stereotype, we always see like Morgan Freeman play this, and I'm not knocking any black actor or black actress. I'm not knocking them whatsoever. I'm not knocking them at all. This is just an observation as to why you see certain things on television and in the movies. But the Uncle Tom character is the older, non-threatening black man. Very loyal, very dedicated, but always inferior to the white main characters. Like a lot of Morgan Freeman, the driving Miss Daisy. He plays a lot of that in $1 Million Baby. He was the old broken down sidekick to Clint Eastwood. And they've always had the old Uncle Tom character. Then you have the Brute. The Brute is the angry, dangerous, physically threatening black man. A lot of movies have the brute. A lot of television shows have the brute. You look at like shows like The Wire, it's full of brutes. Look at shows like Law and Order, you always have the brute, the thug, the gangster black man, the drug dealer, gangbanger. Then you have the coon. The coon is the shucking and jiving, skinning and grinning, tap dancing, gold teeth, you know, the Flavor Flavs and all, half the rappers out there. Again, that's a very comforting stereotype to whites because they're used to it. Then you have the buck. The buck is the over-sexualized black man. The black man that's just trying to bang everything. The over-sexed, hyper-sexed black guy. You have that in a lot of movies. And in the rap game too. See, the hip-hop embodies a lot of those stereotypes all wrapped in one. You have the coon, the buck, the thug, the tom, all of them wrapped up in one. Another example is of the buck is like the Ray J show. You know, the Ray J show, one of the few shows with a black male on television, and he's, you know, laying up with a whole bunch of different women trying to find the love of Ray J. Now they've even come to me with a show like that. They wanted to put me into the buck category. I flat out refused that shit because I have a problem with women, strange ass broads kissing me in my mouth like that. That shit is kind of nasty. Especially these broads that will go on TV and kiss anybody. These chicks out here kissing Flavor Flav, and Flavor Flav was the buck and the coon all rolled up in one. And again, I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying these stereotypes have been around for the longest, and this makes white middle America comfortable. And speaking of the Ray J show, they even had this one chick that he eliminated. And I like Ray J show. I like to support that brother. But there was a chick on his show that they eliminated a few weeks ago, a chick named Caviar. I think that's her name. It's supposed to be this Russian chick. Real pretty face. Supposed to be a chick from Russia. And he eliminated her. And I think that's a dude. I'm convinced that that's a goddamn man. I wouldn't be surprised if it was revealed that was a dude. I honestly think that's a man. Because the face is flawless. And the voice of this thing or whatever it is doesn't even go with the face. And she claims to be from Russia, and that's a perfect excuse not to have any background information about yourself. Because a chick like that, I'd be like, let me see some of your baby pictures or something, and she can just be like, oh, it's in Russia. So I'm utterly convinced that that chick or whatever was a dude. And that's another reason why I wouldn't want to play the buck role on any shows, because the producers are so slick, they'll slip in a transsexual and have you kissing and sucking on a damn dude. They'll do that, but they're real sneaky on some of these shows, man. But that motherfucker that's on the Ray J show, I can't remember what her name is, but I think the nickname was Caviar. That motherfucker had dick in his life at one point. You know what I'm saying? That's what he had. He had some dick. He had some dick. He had some dick. He had some dick. That's what that nigga had. Anyway, but I digress. And number 5, you have the pimp role. The pimp stereotype that a lot of white people are comfortable with. Now, the pimp, to a certain degree, is a combination, the pimp stereotype, not what real pimping is, because what real pimping is, the shit that I kind of grew up with, is totally different from what Hollywood sees it as. The pimp stereotype is really a combination of the coon and the buck. They think it's some loud, clownish dude in a bunch of colorful suits that's fucking a whole bunch of bitches. Bishop Don Magic Juan exemplifies that stereotype. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I think he said, okay, this is what white people think a pimp is. Okay, I'm about to really live it up and play up to that and just make my clothes extra loud. Make everything about myself extra coonish. Make it extra loud and extravagant if that's what they really want. And see, when I first came out with The Art of Mackin', they tried to put me into that category. Because when it first came out, they're like, okay, what is this? This is unique, but we don't know. He's a black dude, so we got to put him somewhere. What do we do with this? We're going to put him in the pimp category. But what I was saying wasn't really pimping, though. Other than the word mackin', that's all it was. But everything else had to do with relationships, so they couldn't put it in the pimp category. But that helped me get my foot in the door, because when I would do all these shows, they thought that I was going to go on here and say all this crazy Bishop Don Juan shit. They thought that I was going to show up with the colorful suit and the hat and the cane. And when I showed up, I said some shit that made sense and everybody felt it. They're like, oh shit. And then number 6, you have the Magic Negro. And I'm going to get on that in a second, of what the Magic Negro means. But when it comes to black folks in the media, on television, and in the movies, they have to put them in these stereotypical boxes in order to be comfortable. And when you do something that's outside the box, it's not going to be that easy to sell it to middle America. So when I came out with what I did, teaching people game, they were like, oh, this is a great idea. What would make it better if we can find some white folks who can do what he does? So to a certain degree, Hollywood has tried to come up with a couple of white folks to do what I do. Successfully or unsuccessfully, depending how you look at it. I mean, they can find some cats to make a real quick buck and come up with the latest fad, like the She's Not That Into You. That book came out after I did Play or Be Played. And the book was very simplistic. The book really didn't have any and I'm not knocking Greg Barron. Greg Barron is the guy who wrote the book. Greg, he was a comedian who did some stuff on Sex and the City, and he came up with a little slogan, he's just not that into you. I mean, the stuff he said wasn't really that deep, but it took off. He's a white guy giving women advice. Now, my book, Play or Be Played, critically successful. People love it. The critics love it. Critics love that book, and it's a very good book. The women who read that book, or women who read that book, they know it's a very good book. What's funny, when I was going to do the book Play or Be Played, I got offered a lot of money to not do the book the way it is now. Because at the time when I started writing books, they had all those Captain Save a Hole, Kiss a Woman's Ass, Tell them what they want to hear type books. The Men Are From Mars, all that, cream puff shit. And I'm like, no, let me tell them real advice from a real man's perspective. And the publishers didn't want to do that at first. I got offered a shitload of money for me to do a different type of book. I've had publishers say, look, we want you to write a book telling women what they want to hear. That's what we want you to do. We'll give you X amount of dollars to do that. I'm like, no, I want to tell women what I think is real. I want to tell women what I think will actually help them in the long run. I can come out with a book with a cute little catchphrase that'll be hot for the moment, but then after it dies down, then what? Women are back to square one, and my shit falls off the map. I don't do fad books. I've been around in the book game for 10 years. That's a long ass time. Books still selling without mainstream press like that. So that's kind of a problem. Because it doesn't conform into any stereotype, which is what I wanted. I wanted to break those stereotypes. One stereotype is that black people can do their thing without rapping or playing basketball or singing or anything to do with church. We can do our thing and get our shine doing other things. I wanted to show them that we can hustle in other ways. But I digress. But back to the stereotyping. Again, so what they wanted to do when I came out with my books, let's get a white person who does the same thing. So they got this guy named Mystery. Now, some people might say, oh, that might be a coincidence. None of this shit is a coincidence. Let me tell you something. I had a guy who was my literary agent for a short period of time named Mark Gerald. And we kind of laid the foundation for these books. Now, Mystery's agent now is, guess who? Mark Gerald. Mark Gerald represents Mystery. It's not a coincidence. I'm telling you, this shit is really closely connected, but I don't really trip on it because I know the game. I know the game, and I have to hustle around it. I want you to know the game. Even though they got this guy out of nowhere who really didn't have any credentials, a guy who never really even sold any books until after the fact, whites in middle America are more comfortable getting advice from other whites. And I'm going to show you how that plays into the magical Negro stereotype in a moment. Now, with this new show that's coming out on VH1, a show called Tough Love, the show that everybody keeps emailing me about, you know, I did my show, the Gold Digging pilot, and the people at the top of VH1, they shot that down. But they got a white dude to do the exact same thing. That's what they're supposed to do. They're hustling like that. You want to sell it to middle America. The thing is, with middle America, a lot of whites in middle America don't feel like they should listen to black people for any kind of positive advice. Black people are supposed to be on display for them to look at, but not listen to. You feel what I'm saying? That's really what it boils down to. White people in middle America don't feel like they're really taught to not listen to black folks. Especially for any kind of advice. It's some deep shit. So that's why we have the magic Negro. That's why that stereotype came about. Because the magic Negro stereotype is, it's a black guy, and this stereotype has been around since the beginning of movies. They always had like Sidney Poitier, he was the magic Negro in a few movies. He's this guy, black man, who comes out of nowhere, who really has no background. In many cases, he has magic powers, and he comes and he gives advice to the leading white character in movies. The magic Negro comes along and he helps the white character save the day. The magic Negro doesn't save the day, but he helps the white character save the day. And the reason why a lot of these Negroes have magic powers, and I mean literally magic powers, like the movie Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey and Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman played God. He would just pop up out of the water. He would just pop up out of the sky and give Jim Carrey moral advice so Jim Carrey can save the day. There was another movie, The Green Mile, with Michael Clark Duncan. He played a magic Negro. A big nigga with magic powers. Don Cheadle. He played a magic Negro, a black man with magic powers helping out the lead white character in a movie. Will Smith played in the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance. He played a magic Negro. Came out of nowhere. He would just walk up and just appear out of the mist and help out Matt Damon. I think, was that Matt Damon? I didn't see the movie, but I think it was Matt Damon. When they have the magic Negro, it's comforting the whites in two ways. When whites see the magic Negro and appreciate the magic Negro, they don't feel racist. Oh, he's a good Negro. I like blacks. I like Bagger Vance. I like this. They don't feel racist. Also, the magic Negro isn't real, so he's not really, really black. So you don't mind getting advice from a person who's not really black. He's the exception to blacks. He doesn't come from a black community. He comes from Magic Land. You feel what I'm saying? It's some real deep psychological stuff. There are several books about this. White people will only listen to the Magic Negro or to a Magic Negro. If you don't fit into the Magic Negro category, and you have to be above race, above conflict, you have to be all-knowing, all-nurturing, and extremely non-threatening. That's when whites will kind of take heed to the advice that character is giving. If a black dude is not conforming to that Magic Negro stereotype, white people feel like they should not listen to him. That's why white people like Barack Obama. And this is not a diss to Barack Obama. Obama is very smart to conform to that and work his way to the top of the game. But Barack Obama is an example of how white people portray him as the Magic Negro. If you type in Magic Negro on Google, you see a bunch of pages with Barack Obama come up. There were songs calling Barack Obama the Magic Negro. Because Barack Obama, when he was running the campaign, he was smart enough to rise above race, not even mention anything about race. He was very smart to not come across angry. He was very smart to not be aggressive. He was very soothing and very nurturing with his tone. And it was very smart for him to utilize that image. Y'all remember when they were trying to invite Barack Obama to the Black Caucus and the state of Black America and all these Tavis Smiley events? Barack Obama was like, no, I can't fuck with that. I cannot be the black candidate. I got to rise above that. So a lot of people in the media, they put the Magic Negro moniker on him. But it was very smart for him to do that. He would not have won if it wasn't for the Magic Negro stereotype that permeates the minds of white America. And really, this is for middle America. Again, I want to specify that, because most white people in like the LA, New York, and on the outskirts of America who are kind of hip. There's some white people who are hip, who kind of know the game, and they'll soak up good game when they can get it. But that's not who Hollywood caters to. Hollywood caters to middle America. They cater to these motherfuckers wearing overalls with a crystal meth pipe, sitting in the middle of a trailer who has all these crazy stereotypes in their minds. That's who they have to cater to. So when you look at television and you wonder why you don't see diversity, you have to understand those stereotypes. So what are we going to do about those stereotypes? Black and white people have to speak out about it and demand more. That's my whole thing. I want to break out of those stereotypes. I don't want to conform to none of them goddamn stereotypes at all. Whites don't have to conform to stereotypes. Why should we? And when they get some ideas and some material and put a white face on it, people need to be more vocal, black and white. You need to say, hey, wait a minute, this is some bullshit. Send emails to them. Y'all sending me the emails. You're preaching to the choir. Y'all need to send emails to these networks like, hey, man, y'all putting this is some bullshit. Y'all need to put some real shit on here. Even with the music. Y'all need to start hitting up these radio stations like, y'all need some real shit. Damn all the stanky leg rap. Come on. Y'all got to step it up. The thing is, you will accept anything that these people give you. You don't say anything. You just accept it for what it is. But again, we got to break out of these stereotypes. Because the thing is, when black folks get some shit from white folks, white folks will call you out on it. Like BET, they do a bunch of knockoff MTV shows. MTV has Real World. BET came out with College Hill. They got called out. They're like, oh, College Hill, that's a black version of Real World. There's a new show on BET called Harlem Heights. White folks call that out quickly. Harlem Heights, oh, that's a black version of The Hills. They'll call it out quickly, but you guys are afraid, especially black folks are afraid to call their shit out. Like Elvis is a black version of Little Richard. Elvis is not a black, but he's a white version of Little Richard. He's a white version of Chuck Berry. You're afraid to call them out on certain things. And then you see these shows that's white versions of what I do. Call it out. Shit. Call it out to them. Holla at them like, look, you guys are ripping off the original. That's some bullshit. You don't call it out. You're scared to call it out. I call it out, but I understand what it is. But again, if you look at the Oscars, like look at all the movies that's been nominated, or not the movies, but the actors and actresses, the black actors and that have been nominated. Damn near every one of them have conformed to one of those stereotypes. Like Michael Clark Duncan, he got an Oscar nomination for The Green Mile. Taraji P. Henson just got an Oscar nomination for that movie Benjamin Button, and it was kind of a mammy type role. She was the nurturing maternal figure to the Brad character. Morgan Freeman, he's been nominated a million times for playing the nurturing Negro or the magical Negro. Denzel Washington got an Oscar for Training Day playing the brute. Jennifer Hudson got an Oscar playing the sassy, thick black woman. Whoopi Goldberg got the Oscar nomination playing the sassy mammy. Oprah got a nomination playing the sassy mammy. Halle Berry won an Oscar. Really the only black woman to win a leading role Oscar for playing a hoe. Not a diss to Holly. She had to do what she had to do. And Monsters Ball was funny. That was a funny ass movie. Raggedy ass Billy Bob Thornton had sex with Halle Berry's character, and after he played a racist. He played a racist dude who ended up having sex with Halle Berry, and after he had sex with her, he was so disgusted with himself, he went in the bathroom and threw up. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What kind of shit you trying to say? Yo skinny, methed out, decrepit ass Billy Bob Thornton had sex with that fine bitch and you threw up? Ain't that a bitch? The only person throwing up was me in the theater. Throwing up my popcorn, watching his raggedy ass. But I digress. And again, like I said, the Oscar nomination, the best song, who won the best song a few years ago? It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp. So these are the stereotypes that people are very comfortable with. You have to conform to one of these stereotypes in order to be accepted. And I want to hustle around that. But people have to demand more. You have to demand better. You have to call these people out and say, hey, this is bullshit. We want to see the real deal. We want the real game. We want to see some real roles. We want to see some real television personalities. We want to hear some real rap. Because again, and I talked about the hip hop game before, man, when hip hop was on some party time, I'll fuck every bitch and I'm the best rapper and I beat your ass. That's cool. But when cats started talking outside of the box and getting revolutionary, talking about fuck the police, and all these cats started owning their labels, and that became kind of a problem. Then they started having those congressional hearings. But now that hip hop and rap is kind of like minstrel shows, it's very cool. Remember, 70% of rap music is bought by white folks. So they're very cool with those stereotypes. So I'm saying to you, all my players out there, you don't have to have that magic Negro mentality to get accepted. And I can understand why some people do. That's just not my bag. I can't do the magic Negro thing. Because the thing is, I'm very aware of my blackness, and I discuss race issues. As you see on this show, I discuss a lot of racial issues. So it's very difficult for a lot of white folks in middle America to fully accept what I'm doing, because I don't fall into any kind of stereotype. Getting advice from a black dude who's not a coon, Buck Tom, or none of that bullshit, and who's not the magic Negro, it might be a little unsettling. But they need to grow and evolve and get over their bullshit. And I say this to white folks in middle America: don't let those old stereotypes disease your brain. And I say to black folks, you don't have to conform. Fuck conforming. You ain't got to conform to nothing. You do what you do. I'm not conforming to a goddamn thing. I'm still making it do what it damn do. I'm going to keep on spitting this hot fire. I'm going to keep on spitting this hot game. I'm going to keep on being a game advisor. I'm going to keep on lacing you cats with game. You steal my shit, I'm going to come up with some new game. I don't give a fuck. That's how I do. I'm going to still keep it traveling all around the world. I'm going to keep you up on your game to help you get out here and travel. I've been getting a lot of emails from cats who are like, look, Flex, I'm going to Brazil. Man, I'm going to Italy. Man, you inspired me to go to the Bahamas. That's the shit I like to hear. I like to see brothers thinking outside of the box. That's the whole thing, man. I don't want you to just think a certain way. Get that hood mentality, thinking very limited. Get out there and do your thing. Try new things. Try different things. Don't let anybody put you in a box. Don't let anybody stereotype you. Don't let anybody pigeonhole you. You can do anything you want to do. And I hate to sound like an after-school special. You know, I feel like those singers in the 1950s. They came up with some good shit and people stole it right up under them. Stole it from under them. And a lot of them, that killed their spirit. It killed the spirit of a lot of those dudes, but fuck that. Somebody steal your shit, come up with new shit. Come up with more creative shit. You always reinvent yourself. I'm always coming up with ways to reinvent myself and reinvent the game and come up with new game. Because the game evolves. The game changes every couple of years anyway, and a lot of folks don't know how to adapt to it. See, I'm a hustler. That's why I've been around for a long time. I'm all about longevity. You guys can take my shit and milk it real quickly, but the real deal is going to stay the real deal. Keep it true to yourself, whatever you do.